All right, here we are. So now let's take a few minutes to talk about your personal journey, the challenges you had to face, and also the wonderful things that came from our journey together. So please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Patrizia, and I have a studio in Staranzano in the province of Gorizia, a tattoo studio that I've been running for over 10 years now.
Okay. So tell me something. In these 10 years, have you ever focused on the social media side of things? Have you ever done anything like this before?
Well, no, during all this time, I never really paid much attention to social media except in a self taught way. I never turned to anyone in particular, and since I didn't have a shop manager either, I always tried to handle things myself.
Okay. And how many people are there in the studio?
There are three of us who are permanent, and then I have some people who come in as guest tattoo artists who come by appointment. But as for permanent staff, there are three of us.
Okay. And since you've always managed things yourself, what kind of feedback have you gotten? Specifically on the social media side.
With you, I definitely noticed a greater response in terms of management. It's cleaner, more precise, more consistent. And I get more attention from social media, from clients, and even from people who are just curious to check out our page and our work. So there's definitely a big difference.
Okay. Whereas before you had to manage everything on your own, so it was a bit more challenging.
Compared to how things were before, it was genuinely quite difficult for me. I mean, to be honest, it still is in a certain way, but yes, it has always been a significant gap for me on this particular side of things.
Okay. And I'm just curious, had you ever given it any real consideration, or had you ever actually seen our company before starting with us approximately 2 months ago? I mean, had you ever come across our brand or services at all before then?
No, I suppose I had thought maybe about looking for someone absolutely who could potentially help me to make a positive change in this specific area. But in truth, no, I had never really and truly considered it in a genuinely serious way or in any kind of definitive manner.
Okay. And how come you had never really thought about it? Was it not something you expected to have this kind of success with?
Yes, mainly because I never really gave it much importance. But then in recent times, I realized the changes that have happened. Also, I started out as a tattoo artist and grew up with the old school mentality. So I never really paid much attention to the progress happening now with social media and everything else. But I've come to realize that the world of tattooing has changed and is changing more and more every day in different ways. And so the needs are different too.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And on this point, when did you come to the realization that you really needed to work on this particular aspect as well? Because otherwise, you likely wouldn't have achieved the results you were hoping for. Is that correct?
When I realized that even in terms of managing and responding to clients on social media, there were so many things I noticed other tattoo artists doing as well. I understood that there was really a need to make a change in this area to really turn things around.
Okay. So let's start by talking a bit about when we first got in touch, which was about 2 months ago. You already knew you wanted to make a change, both in terms of your social media presence and more generally for your studio. How did it feel to start something so new, but at the same time, something you really wanted?
The start was really quite intense, in the sense that I genuinely wasn't expecting something on this level. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it absolutely exceeded what I had imagined. I truly didn't expect such a massive response from everyone. And it was also very demanding, but demanding in a completely positive way, in a very good sense.
Because I remember that at the beginning, there were also some fears, even on an emotional level, right?
Of course, there were some fears, yes, because over the years I had been contacted by so many agencies or people who wanted to handle marketing or more specifically manage the social media side of things. And I never trusted them. Even though I considered it, but I never really trusted them. I always thought, yes, I've always been cautious. But with you, I have to be honest, from the very first time we spoke, I felt a strong sense of trust and professionalism. I really felt encouraged to say, okay, let's give this a try.
Exactly. I remember that we even had another call about this situation, which was quite unique. And you wanted to be sure and get our advice on whether it was the right and ideal time to start. In fact, we actually started about 2 months ago around July or August. And
It was back in August. Yes, that's absolutely correct. That is when we officially started.
We finalized things in July, and then on August 25th or 28th, we kicked off with all the energy we had after the preparation phase, with everything set up specifically and, of course, under our supervision. So how did you find the preparation phase? How did you feel during this whole process, both professionally and in terms of your connection with us?
But on a professional level, I felt really great. And in terms of the connection, everything was excellent. As I said, it was challenging, but for me and also for my team, it wasn't overwhelming. Since we weren't used to managing such a demanding social project in this way, it was tough, but it was also a great experience. Above all, everything went really well despite our shortcomings.
Okay, let's take a moment to clarify exactly why this was considered to be so challenging. More specifically, where did the difficulty truly originate?
The main challenge really stemmed from the fact that we were now required to, for instance, consistently create brand new content or invest a great deal of effort into capturing really good photos and videos. And on top of that, generally manage all of the different business aspects that we simply weren't accustomed to handling on our own. And this was particularly the case for me.
Besides, and speaking also of the need for a significantly greater level of commitment, which is required on both the client side and naturally on the consulting side as well. Now, we won't go into the specifics of that because we don't really feel it's appropriate to, but what I am absolutely sure of is that there was a truly wonderful and great response from the public at large.
Yes, that's true. After the initial preparation phase, the challenging part really came with the daily reality of receiving so many people for consultations and having a huge number of people who contacted us, came to our office and had consultations with us. So there was also a very practical side to managing all of this in practice.
So what was that experience actually like for you then to make the transition from a period of time when there had never really been such a high volume of clients to then suddenly finding yourself handling, let's say, approximately 150 consultations all within the span of a single month?
It was nice in a way. Many of those consultations were with existing clients and so on. But let's say that even just changing the way we did things, like not doing consultations over WhatsApp or actually meeting in person, made it a much more impactful experience.
Which I imagine gave us the chance to actually check the data and see the results for ourselves.
The results were excellent, really great feedback. Absolutely.
Okay. So at the beginning, when we started, you had some doubts. You were a bit hesitant, maybe even a little afraid, which is totally understandable and perfectly normal since it was something you had never done before, right? Even though you had already turned down a lot of agencies. But then when you started to see the results, what did you think?
I thought to myself, wow. I mean, it became abundantly clear to me that I had made an absolutely excellent choice. And because of that, I definitely felt remarkably calm and completely confident that I was in truly great hands. This was something I honestly wasn't so sure about before the process began. In fact, it was quite the opposite, actually, if I'm being completely honest.
So then,
I was just so incredibly happy.
So what would you say to the Patrizia from 5 months ago, 4 months ago?
I would definitely say that I did the right thing. I mean, I tell myself that I made the right choice doing this, and maybe that I could have done it even earlier for sure.
I completely understand. I really do. Now, let's talk about something else that's very important. For years, you've been contacted by agencies, but you always said no to all the doctors. So what made you decide to say yes to us and start this great journey together?
Well, looking back on it, what I can say definitely pushed me to make the final decision was, let's put it this way, giving you the chance to proceed in a way, primarily because you approached me in what I found to be a very professional, direct, clear, and fundamentally honest manner, right from the very start of our discussions. You didn't make any attempt to sugarcoat anything at all. You were consistently very straightforward, completely sincere in your presentation, and refreshingly direct in your communication. That whole experience is what ultimately gave me the confidence and the final push to say yes. My feeling was, these are good people, the kind of people who immediately gave me a strong and reassuring sense of security.
Okay. And that's something really important because feeling secure is important, professionalism is important, and knowing you can relax because there will definitely be some feedback. I remember at the beginning, we talked a bit about whether we'd be able to get certain feedback or results from the audience. And I told you, Patrizia, don't worry, let us do our job and you'll see for yourself what happens when people start coming into the studio. And in fact, that's exactly what happened.
You know, that is exactly how it went. You absolutely and without a doubt kept every single promise you made. And
Well, maybe even more than that, actually.
actually, it's even more than that. And the reason is because
For me, that's something important. At the beginning, we talked about consulting, and honestly, I had some pessimistic expectations precisely because I wanted to go beyond them, to see that smile of having achieved something and to surprise you with results that were much, much bigger.
and all of that really happened. Yes.
And even on the studio side, we actually saw that even though there may have been some struggle, even though you might not have been used to it, you really put in the effort and did exactly what needed to be done for all the clients. That alone is already great feedback, both from the studio's perspective and in terms of what you were able to do compared to what you did before. Okay, so if someone were to ask you about us or ask you a question, what would you say about Ink Media?
Well, I would definitely say that Ink Media is absolutely reliable and that you are all professional people, precise, perfect. You have a team that really impressed me because beyond what you do as an agency and the work you do, you have a very close-knit team, and that's not easy to find either. I would absolutely recommend it as an experience, especially if someone needs to understand how marketing works, how social media works, or if they're looking for some extra tips.
Okay, that's perfect. And I'll tell you, Patrizia, this is more than fine for me. Okay, so that's it. We can say goodbye for the audience as well. That's great. And I'll say, let's keep going with our journey. Let's try to bring in more and more clients and keep growing as a team.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.